What is the difference between a liberty and a right? Both words appear in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. The distinction between the two has always been blurred, and today the concepts are often used interchangeably. However, they do refer to different kinds of guaranteed protections. Civil rights are protections against government actions. For example, the First Amendment of Bill of Rights guarantees citizens the right to practice whatever religion they please. Government then cannot interfere in an individual's freedom of worship. Amendment 1 gives the individual liberty from the actions of the government. Civil rights are rights that concern fundamental freedoms, usually those inherent to the nature of man. They are generally stated in the Constitution and should be protected by the government at all costs. They protect against the government's actions, since the government is obligated to respect them. Civil liberties are expressed in the Bill of Rights, a document that compromises the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Civil rights are the fundamental rights, either implicitly or explicitly listed in the Constitution. Types of civil rights. It is critical to clarify that not all civil rights are explicitly stated in the U.S. Constitution, which gives place to two types of rights. Explicit rights. These are the freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. They are clearly stated and defined in the Bill of Rights or the following amendments. Implied rights are civil and political freedoms, not explicitly stated in the Constitution, but derived from the rights of mentions. For example, the freedom of speech is mentioned, but it implies the right to remain silent, or the right to privacy. Civil rights, in contrast, refer to positive actions of government should create equal conditions for all Americans. The term civil rights is often associated with the protection of minority groups such as African Americans, Hispanics, and women. The government counterbalances the majority rule tendency in a democracy that often finds minorities outvoted. The meaning of civil rights has changed over time, but today, most people use the term civil rights to refer to enforceable rights or privileges. They concern the right to equal treatment without discrimination due to ethnicity, race, age, gender, sexuality, religion, or other characteristics that set apart a person from a majority. Civil rights are enforceable rights or privileges usually regarding the right to equal treatment without discrimination. This definition means that civil rights are associated with the suppression of liberties due to discrimination. They are a way to enforce that the distribution of citizen benefits is equal. This is why they are associated with the government's action to eliminate discrimination. Civil rights are mainly enforced through federal laws such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights of 1965, and through the Constitution that is mainly in the 14th Amendment. The difference between the civil and the rights and civil rights can be confusing. Rights are legal or moral privileges assigned to people based on a given condition. For example, citizens are being human, such as human rights. Civil rights refer to when these rights are enforceable by law to ensure equal treatment. Most Americans think of civil rights and liberties as principles that protect freedoms at all time. However, the truth is that rights listed in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are usually competing rights. Most civil liberties and rights court cases involve the plaintiff rights versus another right that the defendant claims has been violated. For example, in 1971, the New York Times published the Pentagon Papers that revealed some negative action of the government during the Vietnam War. The government sued the newspaper, claiming that the reports endangered national security. The New York Times countered with the argument that the public had the right to know and that its freedom of the press should be upheld. So the situation was national security versus freedom of the press. A tough call, but the court chose to uphold the right of press. Similarities between civil liberties and civil rights. Civil rights and civil liberties could be used interchangeably in legal and legislative manners before the Civil War, as both are mentioned in the Constitution and Bill of Rights. They are still often used interchangeably even though they have different meanings. These might be because they have a lot of similarities, but they both involve action. They both seek equal treatment for all citizens. They both derive from the Constitution. The impact of language used in the Civil War and during the Civil Rights Movement has differentiated clearly what civil liberty and civil right means. Their main points of contention are as such: civil liberties, which is listed in the Bill of Rights. It protects citizens against government's actions, concerns every citizen, involves explicit and implicit fundamental rights. Whereas civil rights, it concerns about the discrimination in the distribution of civil liberties, targets loopholes where the government isn't enforcing the certain rights due to discrimination, concerns equality of rights for all citizens, involves every right on the ground of equal treatment. Civil rights to vote. Civil rights has the right to vote, the right for free trial, the right to a public education, the right to use public facilities, and civil liberties is the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of press, and freedom of assembly. And today, I have found that they have both similarities and differences. Yet there is more differences than similarities. Thank you.